Hi everyone, it's Darlene. I've gotten a lot of questions about how to blend inks onto paper using this ink applicator. So I thought I would do a quick tutorial on that. So this is the ink blending applicator. It has a little foam at the top with a Velcro that attaches to the wood handle. So you can actually, I hold this down because sometimes this Velcro doesn't stick very well to the wood block. And you can just peel it off and replace these. They come in a pack for refills. I have like 8 of these, and I have not had to replace any of them yet, but they are starting to wear down, so I probably will do some soon. But anyway, so you just stick it right on there, and this is your wood applicator. Now, as far as storing these and how many I use and all that, here's my rack. I know you're kind of seeing this from the top here, but it spins around and it holds all of my wood applicators. And I just pop them right in here like that. So you can see I have 8 different ones, and I have them labeled by color. So this one's yellow, this one's red, this one's purple, black, brown, blue, neutral, and green. So I have all the different color families. So for example, with the green one I'll use for wild wasabi, I'll use for pine needles, I'll use for basically any green, light or dark. And same goes for the others. Now, I really wish there was 9 because the purple one, there's an orange missing. Purple, I use purple, and then I switch this out. Oopsie. Okay, and then I keep my orange one right here, and I just put that on. So that's the only one I switch out. All the other ones I just leave. Oops. Anyway, get back. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take my blue one, and I'm going to show you how to apply ink with both the Distress and then also the Stampin' Up. So these are my 2 favorite colors for those 2 brands, and I have 2 different papers here. I have the Stampin' Up paper, which is a little thinner and a little slicker. And then I have the Neenah cardstock, Solar White cardstock. Now, if you use Distress ink on Stampin' Up paper, it doesn't look, I find that it doesn't look as good. It kind of changes the color a little bit. Like for example, last week I took some spun sugar and I put it on, which is a Distress ink, and I put it on Stampin' Up paper, and it looked kind of peachy. And I didn't realize I had done it. I just saw it and I was like, oh, that's just kind of weird. So then I reapplied it to some Neenah, and it really had a vibrant pink color to it. So I always use Distress inks with the Neenah, and I always use Stampin' Up with a Stampin' Up. Now if you put Stampin' Up on Neenah cardstock, it's very grainy looking. It doesn't absorb the ink as well as the Stampin' Up paper does. So these 2 are great together, and these 2 are great together, and I try not to mix them up. I'm going to show you each of these individually. The first one is the Distress ink Broken China. I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'm using a Tim Holtz Ranger craft mat. This mat is pretty indestructible, and everything wipes off of it. Even you use those glue guns, the glue just comes right off. So what I do is I like to use it because it's slick, and so it allows me to kind of make circles. So I'm going to take my ink applicator and I'm going to tap it in here. A lot of people have trouble with like rectangular marks, so what I do first, since I'm not sure how much ink is really on here until I get it on the paper, I start very, very light with very light pressure. And I'm going to start off the paper, and I'm going to roll onto the paper in a circular motion, and I'm going to move inward. But I always start on the outside. I never start here, because you're immediately going to get that rectangular mark because you have so much ink on your applicator. So I'm going to very lightly kind of come onto my paper and kind of get a feel for how much ink is on there. And then as the ink applies, I'm going to put more pressure. And I'm going to move toward the center as it gets lighter and lighter. Okay, you can still see I have some marks here, but as I continually apply it, those marks will fade away and it'll blend together. So I just do a quick tap tap. I don't push hard, I just get a little bit of ink, because I really think that it's better to work, or I find that it's better to work with a light application of color and take a little bit more time to get that color on there and make it as dark as you want, rather than trying to do the whole thing all at once and have a big giant dark mess here. And so as you go to the middle, notice I still start at the edge and I work my way inside. So now once you get to the inside, you can press harder. And see, my inside is almost the same color as my outside because I'm pressing very lightly here, and then I'm putting a lot more pressure as I get to the middle. Out to the edge, and then toward the middle. Light, 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 and then heavier, heavier, heavier. And then as it starts to apply the color, you'll see areas that maybe you might see. I see a little bit of a line right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just do circles right over that area without re-inking. Okay, and so that kind of lets it blend together, but I still have a little bit of ink here so that it doesn't make it too dark in this one little area. So I'm going to do that all over, and it's not going to be an even coverage because otherwise you might as well just use some colored cardstock. I like it to be a little bit of white splotchiness, you know, here and there, just to make it look like it's got a little bit more texture to it. So that's how I do it. Now, I'm going to use the same applicator because I'm doing blue, and I'm going to use a Stampin' Up! Pad. It's going to be the same technique, but Stampin' Up! Pads sometimes have more, they're juicier sometimes, depending on the color. So this particular one, I've used it so much, I've never re-inked any of my ink pads, and I think part of it is because I don't like it to be too juicy, but I do have some that I don't use that often, and if I start this and it's really, really juicy, then it just gets too heavy here. So just kind of experiment with it a little bit and see how much ink you get on your applicator first. Actually, what I used to do, which really helped a lot, and I don't do it anymore because I'm just too lazy with time, but if you have the time, you can prime your applicator. And what that means is you kind of get a feel for how much ink is on there. See, there's a lot of ink on this. So I would kind of keep going like this until I get a good amount of ink. And I'm happy with how that I've got something on here to work with, and I know how much is on there, and I know how much to dip in and grab. Okay, now the Stampin' Up!, this is just my primer. So the Stampin' Up! Inks don't blend as well as the Distress inks. I mean, when you're all done, it'll look very similar, but you kind of have to work a little bit faster because it dries a little bit faster. So same exact thing. Start off the paper with a light pressure and then work your way in. So you see I'm getting a lot more of the lines, but if you work your way in and you put pressure as you get toward the center, you'll get the same exact look. I do find that I get I have more issues with rectangular marks with the Stampin' Up! But some of the colors I just love so much it doesn't matter. And a lot of times, you know, you're inking the background and you're going to put something on top of it. So it's not like people are looking directly at these marks here. It just kind of gives for your backgrounds, it's just a way to kind of provide something behind your main focus area. So see how this goes a lot faster because the ink just is heavier. And it's pretty. So if you just keep going with this, lighter, heavy. Lighter, heavy, lighter, heavy. And notice I'm just kind of doing a little tap on my ink pad because there's already so much ink on it. Always start at the edge, work to the middle. Start at the edge, work to the middle. See, I need a little bit more ink. And as you practice with this, it gets easier and easier. And again, it just depends on your ink pad and how much, how new it is, how much ink it has in it, as far as how much pressure you should apply, and how many times you need to kind of press this into the ink pad. Can you hear my dogs? They're panting like crazy. It's kind of hot in here. Okay, so that's the Stampin' Up! And there's the Distress. I didn't do the whole thing, but they look, I mean, almost identical as far as end result. Not in color, but I mean in just texture. And you can see I still have, you know, some marks here and there, but it kind of adds to the whole, you know, the look of it It's not supposed to look perfect. That's the whole thing. It's supposed to look distressed. So anyway, hope that helps. And if you have any questions, email me. Thanks. Bye-bye.